What is the process for rolling over money from a soon-to-be ex's 403b into your IRA?
Yeah, so a couple things, right? And again, there's always lots of different kind of details that we can include when these questions are asked, right? But basically, the 403b, typically speaking, so 403bs, 401ks, pensions typically can be split via quadro, qualified domestic relations order, right? And it's a document that's prepared that is then sent to the plan provider telling them, hey, take this one account and split it into two. I always say, like, take one molecule and divide it into two, right? And so then that account, that 403b essentially would be at your ex-spouse's employer. So you would have a 403b account, right, at your ex-spouse's employer. The process for rolling it out is either you set up an IRA, an individual retirement account in your name, and then you kind of process the paperwork to transfer the money is usually how people do that. Sometimes if they have an existing IRA, again, they will facilitate that paperwork to get that transferred. The important thing for people to know though is there is an opportunity pursuant to the quadro that people can actually access some of those funds without a penalty. So it's still taxable because, again, you haven't paid taxes on it yet, right? It's still taxed as income if you were to take a distribution, but you have kind of a free pass, if you will, to be able to take it out without a penalty. Once those funds are rolled over into an individual retirement account, then all bets are off. So I was working with a woman and she was like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to be living with my parents. I know it's not ideal, but one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to use some of the money from the quadro to be able to refinish, the basement. I'm like, okay. I said, here's the deal. Do not transfer the money to an individual retirement account, right? Make that transfer before you take the money out, or you won't be able to take it out without a penalty. I told her that like 3 times, right? Okay, we're good. Yep, she calls me, hey, I was on the phone with the company and they made it super simple and we rolled the money over. And I'm like, okay, so you can still take the money out, but now you're going to be, paying taxes and a penalty. So again, I'm not advocating that people dip into their retirement funds, but sometimes there's no other option and you just need a little bit of cash to get you through, the situation. And so I always like people to just be aware that that could be an option.
So the timing of these things and the sequence is very important because you might get hit with a penalty that you could have avoided if you talk to somebody that understands it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also starting with the end in mind, right? Like, what is the goal? Do you want more liquidity? Do you want more cash? Do you want more retirement? I mean, there's an aspect of, hey, it's not always just, hey, we're taking everything and splitting it down the middle and here we are. It's what's your goal? I
Hmm.
mean, there's people that are going to say, listen, Rhonda, I'm not going to sleep at night unless I have a little bit more in retirement. I'm not as important, liquidity isn't as important to me. Just kind of depends.
That's such an interesting thing because I always divorce emotionally, everything. You're usually taking a hit in the beginning. I think things do trend up, but your priorities might be different. It might be like, I need to get through the next 24 months. If my retirement account takes a little hit, I can always make more money and figure that out. But yeah, it's important to kind of brace yourself for this time where if you have the money, you know how to access it. I appreciate you being on and educating people about this. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram at Rhonda Noordyk or my website, wfwcdivorce.com.